So today we're focusing on the perimeter of objects. And the only objects we can measure today are objects that are closed figures, and they can't have any curved sides because it's just too hard to use any kind of a straight tool to measure perimeter. How can we find the distance around a polygon? Here's a polygon, a closed figure. So what do you guys think we would do? If we want to build a fence to go around that polygon, we'll measure, okay? Now, luckily, they're going to do most of the measuring for you today. But once you measure and you label all those sides, what do you think would come next? Aaron? You would add up all your sides. So the word perimeter describes the distance around this garden. What type of measuring device do you think you would use if you were measuring perimeter? Aiden? A meter stick you could certainly use. Is there any other tool you could use?
It would depend how big.
Sure, exactly. But give me some other examples. Centimeters, but that's not a tool. What tool would you use? A meter stick is one. A ruler is another. A tape measure is another. Those are all good examples. What dimensions are you measuring? Well, when you're measuring perimeter, you're measuring the length of the sides, how long each side is. Let's think of a real-world example where you might want to find the perimeter of an object. Can you think of something in your life in the real world where you might need to know the perimeter? Aiden?
My farm.
Okay, why would you need to know that? What do you do at your farm that you might need to know how far around it is?
Like if we want to put up a fence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any cattle at your place?
No.
But if you did,
Yeah.
that would be pretty important, wouldn't it?
Chickens.
Okay. Caden?
Like I feel like even the same like my dad uses this thing where you walk.
Okay. As a tool, you mean, to measure? Yep. Darius?
Aircraft carrier deck.
Okay. Okay. Will? A door. All right. What if I were to put a wallpaper border up around this whole classroom? Would I need to know the perimeter of the classroom? Because if I measured and I didn't buy enough border, I'd have a spot that had nothing, right? That would look pretty funny.
It's a thing. It's nothing.
Okay. So I want you all to try in your head to find the perimeter of this rose garden. Now, I talked with my other class how when I see a shape like this that has a lot of different measurements, one strategy I use is I try to find numbers that are similar to each other, like these 3 5s, and I work with those together. 3 5s give me 15. Plus 4 more, plus 3 more, or I could put them together, 15 plus 7. That's up to you. Your answer would be? 22 what? Meters. Don't forget the unit, 22 meters. So we could add them all up individually by number, or we could chunk those numbers together. All right, so let's start by taking a look at a couple pictures. Now, if you guys need a blank screen, go ahead. You can find one. Actually, today, everybody has to use the app called Notebook. It's baby blue with a pen in the middle. It's notebook software. Smart Notebook, yep. Okay. So I want you to look at this shape. Now, if you don't need scratch paper, fine. But if you do, you have it in front of you. Please find me the perimeter of this object. Sam. 24 centimeters. Now, how many of you took each number separately and added them? Nobody? Did anybody chunk numbers together?
Yeah.
What things do you chunk together when you're looking at a lot of numbers, Darius?
I chunked the 6 and the 2s together, and 1 6 and 1 2, and then it made
So you had 3/8 then. So you took the 6 and the 2, the other 6 and the 2. That's a great idea. I personally like to try to find numbers that make 10. Does anybody else like to do that? So I found the 8 and the 2, this two numbers right here, 10, 12, 10 plus 12 is 22, 2 more is 24. What do you do?
I did 6 plus 6 equals 12 plus 8 is 20 plus 2 plus 4 is...
Okay, so everybody has their own way of doing it. Is it going to change your answer? No, it shouldn't. Next one, here we go. I bet most of you can do this in your head. Emma?
34 inches.
34 inches is correct. Good work. Now, I want you to go to your notebook software, and I want you to make me a square. Now, the square has to have, the square has to have straight sides. It can't be the square that has curved sides because we could never measure that with a ruler. Okay? I want you to make one of those sides 7 centimeters. One of those sides you can label 7 centimeters. Now tell me the perimeter of that shape. Sky? Okay. What does perimeter mean? Perimeter means the distance around the whole thing. Remember, just because I told you to put a 7 on one side, doesn't that mean all of the sides are 7 since this is a square? Okay, so what would the perimeter be? Brendan? Sky? You can write these numbers in if it helps you, but then you have to add those numbers up. Okay? Now, Brendan did it this way. Instead of taking 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, he took 7 times 4, and he knew that that was 28. So 28 centimeters is our perimeter. Next picture. Go to your next slide. You don't need to erase any slides. Just continue to make new ones, please. Next, I want you to try to make an equilateral triangle. Make it look as close as you can, please. Okay. And I want you to label one of the sides 13 inches. Now tell me what the perimeter is of that shape. Alan, tell me what you did. Okay, now just because I told you to label one side doesn't mean that you can't write in the other 3 sides. 13 3 times. He's right, it's 39 inches. Next screen. Make a rectangle whose long sides are 10 millimeters and whose short sides are 3 millimeters. Now I want the perimeter of that rectangle. Sarah? 26 millimeters. Today, when you get your assignment, you're going to have some shapes that have empty spots. Does that mean we do nothing with those empty spots? Please, no. Just because I only label some of them, it must mean the opposites are the same thing, right? Okay, now here's your job. I want you to, first of all, delete all the screens that you've made so far. And start with a clear screen. Now, your job is this. You are going to choose any shape you want to put on your, stop, watch, and listen. Will? Any shape you want. And you are going to label, Brendan, you are going to label every side. It has to have units as well. Brendan, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what the first slide needs to have, Brendan? Okay, I want you to look at me the whole time. Never look down, buddy. Never look down. Look at me. You're going to pick a shape to put on your slide, and you're going to label every single side. Okay? Then on the second slide, you're going to put the answer for the perimeter. Okay? Now, check out all these shapes. You can pick anything you want, but it cannot be curved. Cannot be curved. It has to be straight. Go ahead. You're going to switch your iPad with someone else in your pod. Make sure it's on slide number 1 because we don't want them to see the answer. We want them to figure out the answer and check themselves on slide 2. Go. Can I give you guys a hint? Can I stop you for a second? One thing that they mentioned in this lesson is this. They said put a dot wherever you're going to start. So if I put a dot here, that means I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I'm not going to do this one a second time. It's very easy to overlap and do one side twice. So if you put a dot where you started, then you know that's where you end as well. So my perimeter was 50 meters. Check your partners.